Welcome to the High Sensory Mothers podcast with Karen Hunt, a supportive space dedicated to mothers with high sensory intelligence. Each week, I'll share insights from my own experiences and those of my clients, alongside empowering conversations with inspiring guests who offer practical wisdom and guidance. Together, we'll help you embrace your sensitivity so you can thrive, not just in motherhood, but in your life and business too. Welcome to episode 8 of the High Sensory Mothers podcast with me, Karen Hunt. So yesterday I had a wonderful discussion with my friends who are also high sensory coaches, and I'm inspired to continue the conversation here with you. So I'd like to talk about the head and the heart and that third dimension, the spirit. As high sensory people or highly sensitive people or HSPs, use whichever term resonates with you, we are gifted with a deeper ability to use our minds and our hearts. And we also tend to have quite a strong spiritual connection too. So I'd just like to sort of look into this a little bit further with you, because although we have gifts, we also have the shadow side too, don't we? So let's look at hearts first of all. So with our hearts, we are deeply tuned in to our hearts and our emotions and our feelings. We tend to have deep empathy and compassion for other people. And we can also resonate quite deeply on an emotional level with others. And when I say others, I don't just mean other humans, but we often have a really deep resonance with animals and with plants and basically the natural world. It's really important to us. And I would say it's quite crucial for our health and well-being to be in resonance with that part of nature that means so much to us. So the downside of this gift is the shadow side. And I don't need to tell you how that manifests, because we've all experienced that. The way that we can absorb other people's feelings and sometimes getting confused with our own. We can really get bogged down, weighed down with that. Sometimes it's even difficult for us to discern not only what's ours and what's theirs, but what our desires are and what we really want. Because sometimes it can just be we believe that we want what others want. And that's obviously something that most of us experience as children, because it's so crucial as a child to be connected with our caregivers and to feel that sense of belonging, because our very survival depends upon it. And so obviously sometimes we have to give up our own connection with ourselves in order to stay connected with others. If they have a very strong sense of what they want and what they expect, then as a survival mechanism, we need to follow that and drop our authentic selves. So that's quite possible. And it's a matter of us acknowledging that and working with that to undo that and to unlayer ourselves. So let's look at this in a way that will be useful going forwards. Let's see our heart as our compass. It's leading us or pointing us in the right direction. And so I feel like it's a matter of awareness. Drop into your heart, feel it, because it's intelligent, and notice what it's telling you. When you lead with your heart, you can then hop onto your mind and use your head That's where we can access the logic, where we can process the thoughts more deeply, and we can make a conscious choice of what we want to do when our heart points us in a direction. So let's look a bit more deeply then at the head. So the gift of our high sensory intelligence in terms of our minds is that they're very deep processors. We think in layers, so we're not just looking at the surface, we look beyond the surface. We can both zoom out to see the big picture and we can zoom in to see the details. And because of that, we notice patterns in things. And it might be patterns in data, or it might be patterns in people, or it can be patterns in society, for example, or organizations. And we can make these connections then that other people might just miss. So it is a real gift, and it's a very useful skill that we have that we can make use of in the workplace, as well as in our families and relationships. But the shadow side of that, the downside, is that we can spiral into overthinking, into perfectionism, or analysis paralysis. So we do have to watch out and be careful for that. And one of the ways I've found that works well is if we find ourselves, catch ourselves at that point where we're feeling like there's too much going on in our heads. Our heads are feeling heavy, they're feeling full. That's definitely a sign that you've broken through into that overthinking or into that shadow side of the mind. And it's time to step away and step back. So what I find is that if we can focus in somehow into our hearts or into our bodies, that's when we can get out of our heads. And just that phrase, getting out of our heads, of course, sometimes we learn coping mechanisms that are not healthy but get us out of our head. So it might be alcohol or drugs or some other addictions that you can get into just to help you get out of that feeling of being too much in your head. Obviously, that's not the healthiest way to deal with this. And instead, let's look at ways that are healthier for us to do that. One of the simplest ways of doing that is to access the breath in a conscious way and focus on the body again in a conscious way. We just need to be aware of our breath, take some deep breaths. I love to use essential oils as well because that's a very immediate sensory experience that not only helps me connect with my breath, but it also can change the chemistry within my body in a matter of seconds, which is very powerful. So it's a very quick and easy way to do that. But just by accessing the breath, I find if it's safe to do so, to close my eyes is really helpful because that's tuning out so much information that I'm taking in, and then feeling my feet on the ground, feeling that connection, and doing a body scan and feeling the different parts of my body, and then really focusing in on my heart, because then it's moving the energy away from my head and getting back in touch with my heart, which is where I lead from. I don't allow my heart to completely run the show. It needs to work in tandem with my head. And then when we do that, we can lead from our heart. We can use our mind as a tool and not get trapped in our heads. And I think when we do this work regularly and we practice this ability to connect with ourselves, to get still, to focus on what comes up, allow it to be and let it go. And we can bring in that third element. In fact, we don't have to do anything. That third element comes to us and it comes through us. It's that bridge between our human selves and our higher selves, our spiritual selves. And it's then when we're still, when we're quiet, when we're connected to ourselves, that power comes through. And that helps us lead from a completely different place. When you're able to access this within yourself, you're truly then at a place where you can model the energy that you want to see in the world. When you can feel that energy flowing through you, it will impact others. It does have an effect and it will ripple through your circle, your community, the world. Just like when you drop a pebble into a lake and you watch those concentric circles radiating outwards, it does impact your family, your community, and further, whatever you want to do in the world, it will impact that. When we manage our own energy and our state, we naturally create these ripples of influence. I would love for you to reflect on this and perhaps journal as well. Where is it that you're feeling this disconnect? Do you find that it's mostly in your mind or is it in your heart? What's most useful for you right now? And obviously this isn't a linear experience or journey, and you constantly need to be aware and be vigilant and work on both of these things and the spiritual side too. What tools are useful for you? What practices are useful for you? Do you have a grounding practice? Do you use specific tools like essential oils, for example, or music? What is it that works for you? Explore that. Do you have other people you can share this with, that you can connect with, that can mirror for you, can support you? It's so important to be in community with like-minded people. It makes such a difference. And just make a start. However small, it doesn't matter. Even just listening to this is enough. Your subconscious will do some work for you. But if there's just one small thing you can do, one small practice you can make, then do that. There's no perfect destination. It really is about the journey. And just remember that you are a bridge. You're a bridge between the spiritual world and the earth. You have that ability to journey along the bridge between your heart and your mind. And when you do that, you're showing the world a new way of being, a new way of living. You're bringing a really positive and much needed energy into this world. Your presence is enough. I would love to hear how you experience this bridge between your heart, your mind, and your spirit. So do leave a comment. Do reach out to me if you want to talk about how I can support you further. I'd love to hear from you. I hope this was useful for you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.
Enjoyed today's episode? If you haven't already, I'd be so grateful if you could subscribe and leave a quick review. It really does help other high sensory mothers discover this podcast. To stay connected, visit my website where you can sign up to receive episode updates straight to your inbox. Or book a free call if you're curious about working together. Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to next time when I'll share more insights on embracing your high sensory gifts.